the assistant director for the EFA studio program. I use she, her pronouns. I have short brown hair and I'm wearing a sparkly sweater top, which I really like, and some pink lipstick. And I'm excited to welcome all of you here today. This is a Meet the Programs event. So if everyone could just stay muted. Again, if you have any questions, you can put them into the chat. Dylan, if you could go to the next slide, we can just go over some of the basic rules. Okay, so again, we will have a little short Q&A session at the end. So if you have questions, feel free to enter them into the chat and then we'll try to address them at the end. You know, again, be respectful of everyone. EFA is an inclusive and affirming environment. We are all anti-oppression in all forms. No hate will be tolerated. And today we would like to acknowledge, honor, acknowledge, and affirm the Lenni Lenape Indigenous community and ancestors for allowing us to hold space together in the greater New York City area, which is where we are in Midtown Manhattan today. And again, most of you have probably checked out the website, but if you're looking for more events to attend, you can go to efa.art for the full listings for the whole week through the 24th. And yeah, we're very excited. We're going to start with Project Space and Dylan Gauthier talking about what's happening with EFA Project Space. So go ahead, Dylan.
Great, thank you so much, Natalia, and thanks everybody for being here today. So I am Dylan Gauthier. I use the pronouns he, him, and I'm a white, middle-aged male with curly brown hair. I wear glasses, and I'm wearing a black button-up shirt right now for the occasion. And I am the program director for the EFA Project Space program. I think because of the order here, and thank you all, I'm sorry I have to jump off right at 1 today to actually do a setup call for our event that we're having this afternoon, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But before I get into Project Space, I think there's just a few background slides on EFA that I can give you a little bit of context. If you are familiar with the organization, this is all you know, a reminder, but so EFA is a 501c3 public charity. We are dedicated to providing artists across all disciplines with space, tools, and a cooperative forum for the development of individual practice. EFA is a catalyst for cultural growth, stimulating new interactions between artists, creative communities, and the public. And so today is all about our 3 programs. So EFA is made up of these 3 programs: EFA Studio Program, EFA Project Space Program, and the EFA Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop Program. And you're going to be hearing a little bit from each of them today. I'm not going to read these through, but we each have separate missions, but we are tied together not only by nature of being an EFA center together, but we are 3 unique, semi-independent and complementary programs that support a rich and diverse artistic ecosystem at EFA Center. I like to bring that out because I think it's important to note that the work that the studio program does and the artists that are members of the studio program supports the work that we do at Project Space. We like to host those artists in our shows. Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop, as you may know, offers classes and other services for the printmaking community. We all bring in grants separately to the organization. We all bring in separate donors and supporters and communities through which we work. And I think that's really unique for New York City, right? And possibly for the country, possibly for the world, I don't know. But the sense that we have both this member-based print shop, an art space that is a public forum and committed to exploring new ideas in exhibition making, which I'm going to be talking about in a little bit, and then all of the fabulous studio members that were all together under this one roof in Midtown Manhattan here at EFA Center, which if you haven't been to EFA Center in person, please do come by and check us out. We have 10 floors within this massive former garment factory in Midtown Manhattan in the garment district. And I think that this is it's an incredibly unique situation. I think we're all incredibly grateful and privileged to be a part of it, and to be helping make these synergies happen between our programs. And Open Studios is really our opportunity every year to kind of showcase everything that we're doing separately, but also how we work together and how we collaborate together. And I'm really honored to be a part of the community here. I did also want to mention that not on the call with me is my colleague Judy Gira, who's our program manager at EFA Project Space, and our curatorial fellow right now is Emma Collery. And so if you come by and visit Project Space, you will probably meet with either Judy or Emma. I'll tell you a little bit more about what we have going on there, and we'll talk about kind of what we do as a public venue for exhibition making. So Project Space is a 2,500 square foot gallery space. We're located on the second floor of EFA Center. And over the year, we present 5 exhibitions and multiple artist projects. These are all sourced through an annual thematic open call. We just had an open call earlier in the year, which we completed before our COVID lockdown situation. And EFA Center, as you probably know, was closed for four months there, was it? 3-4 months. And along with other similar organizations in the city, we've been, kicking things back into gear as we get back to our mission. So this was our current thematic is Bright Futures, and we had anticipated beginning with those programs this year, but have pushed that ahead. So that will be our focus for 2020, 2021 and 2022, which I don't know, still sounds like a long way off, though it's just around the corner. And so we'll be presenting exhibitions and artist projects that came in through a round of open calls. It was decided by our curatorial advisory committee, and selections were made. And I'll share a little bit about that in a minute. We also host a pretty unique program. As far as I know, it's the only program of its kind that hosts artists who are also arts workers, culture workers in the field. These are artists who work at New York City area cultural institutions, some larger institutions, some smaller ones. And they, in their day jobs, fulfill a number of different roles, anything from arts administrator to curator to artist educator, museum educator. And Shift, which is the residency program, is dedicated to giving those artists time to focus on their creative practice and to recognize the work that they do, which is also creative work, supporting the work of other artists and these amazing cultural institutions that we are, privileged to have in New York City. And but doing this work alongside their creative practice is often a kind of exhaustion where they find, working the day job that is, something that they're committed to, right? Like this is all part of the creative practice. Arts educators are, bring their work as artists to bear on their educational careers, as well as vice versa. As they are teaching, they're also learning and becoming better artists. So Shift really honors these practices, and we host 8 or 9 residents every year. The program's now in its 11th year, and is a pretty incredible time for us. Over 11 months, we work on creative strategies, life-work balance, life coaching. We have visiting professionals who come in and do studio visits with these artists as well, leading up to a culminating exhibition. We also host curatorial fellowships and a curatorial incubator program. So this is for folks who have ideas about exhibitions that they might want to put together, but maybe haven't actually curated an exhibition before. Sometimes they're artists who want to, their work connects in some way with kind of what it means to organize an exhibition. And so, and other times, we've hosted, arts writers, arts educators again, and so really trying to bring the tools of exhibition making that we have to people who maybe haven't had that experience before, and so supporting them with best practices and learning and the skills to bring together those shows. And so, typically, one exhibition a year is that curatorial incubator program. So I did also want to mention we have some things ongoing right now, and actually in our last did I miss? Yes. In its last week is our current exhibition, the Immigrant Artist Biennial 2020, Here Together, curated by the artist and curator Gauthier, who is also an EFA Studios member, and really is all over our Open Studios events this week. She's going to be taking part in a panel discussion later tonight with all of the new members, as well as presenting a new performance work on Friday evening. And then we're going to be presenting a closing event for the exhibition. So if you haven't had a chance to come by and see the exhibition, I highly, highly recommend you do so. The exhibition brings 11 New York-based immigrant artists together. These are artists from all over the world who happen to find themselves here in New York working, and they're working in a variety of media, from sculpture, performance, video, publishing, what else? Painting, drawing, video installation work. Really an incredible breadth of practices. And so the show is curated as part of a larger initiative that Katia founded called the Immigrant Artist Biennial, which is, she's actually going to talk about in a few minutes. I'm going to show a little clip of her speaking about the exhibition. She'll give us a little virtual walkthrough. And so the idea was conceived as a way to uplift and spotlight the practices of these artists that, are finding their way here, obviously outside of their home context and home environment. And just to say that over this year, this show was supposed to have opened in March. We were about a week from the opening when we had to close down due to the pandemic, and so we actually shifted a lot of the programs online, and really the Immigrant Artist Biennial became this kind of virtual happening for us, where the artists, their communities, and the public could meet together. And for the first couple of months of the lockdown, we hosted online performances, an online dinner party, a discussion series, including basically these artists and friends that they had invited, just talking about what it meant to be an immigrant in the time of a pandemic, and how they were dealing with the changing circumstances around their status, in relation to the healthcare system, or in relation to resources that they would otherwise have access to in their home countries, and that there was new problems and new challenges within their lives here. We also hosted an event that was moderated by Essye Hyun, who's on the call with us now, who's our operations coordinator at EFA, on xenophobia and anti-Asian racism. And so these were all things that were coming very, very much in response to the present situation. And those talks are all archived on our website, which I'll point you to in a minute. But just to say that getting us through that really difficult situation, of the lockdown, the show being kind of postponed, and we turned to the artists and really gave them the option. And we said, well, what do you want to do? We still want to share your work. We want to spotlight the work that you're doing in the world. How do you want us to proceed? And so they came back with some of these ideas and thought it would be very, very important and valuable for them to still be able to connect in this virtual space. And I really think it was an incredible making the best of a not so great situation for us. And it really allowed us to continue the momentum, so that when we did finally get to open the show in September, it was, with already this kind of history of these artists having, spoken together, shared time together, virtually shared a meal together. And so I feel like it brought a lot of life and vitality to this exhibition. Also to mention that, obviously, like everything has changed, and mounting an exhibition in the time of COVID is presents new challenges and new difficulties, both in terms of just installing work and really having to rethink everything. Like, how do you have a team of installers working in a safe and socially distanced way? How do you have artists? So we had to basically revisit our normal kind of operational mode. We extended the install period. We, like many arts organizations, like many galleries, we're used to installing in 10 days or 2 weeks, maybe, if we have the time, but everything is really always very, very fast. And so we gave ourselves a month to install. it's also changed the way that people can see the work, right? So rather than having headphones, rather than having things that people can pick up and interact with, all of the exhibition text you access through a QR code. All the sound is in the space, and we have parabolic speakers that you can stand under to hear sound that you would have been listening to through headphones in another time. And then also, if you do come to visit the gallery, we've made every accommodation we can to make sure that it is a safe experience and a comfortable experience. And I think that in this time of such overwhelming challenges and changes that we're all facing, I think I'm not alone probably in expressing this, that there is a moment where you start to question both like the kind of business as usual approach, but also just the value of what you're doing, because it feels like how is this actually benefiting the world right now? And so to some degree, this exhibition was a trial balloon for us, because we said, well, does it make sense to mount an exhibition right now? We know that we're not going to have as many in-person viewers. We're going to put content online. We're going to do a virtual exhibition room so that people who can't get there in person can still experience the work of these artists. But we know it's not going to be the same, and you don't have that incredible, the opening where there's 200 people and everybody's partying, and so how does it make sense to do an exhibition in that way in this time? And in truth, I think I've been incredibly, happily surprised by the number of people that have reached out to us afterwards, after they've come to visit the show, and just said what it meant, how much it meant to them to be able to have this little bit of normalcy in their lives, that they were able to come and visit this exhibition and do so safely and see artwork right now. And also, this is artwork that really does directly connect to the most important issues in our time, in immigration, xenophobia, nationalism, the rise of fascism, the dissolution of this kind of American exceptionalism in the American empire. And so all of that they're heavy topics, but actually being able to experience it safely, I think has been really meaningful, not just for the artists in the show and for their friends, but for the public. So that I'm really grateful that we've been able to do that. We're looking forward to presenting our next exhibition, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But so closing this Saturday, come to see it. It's your last chance to see it in person, after which you'll be able to see it only in our online virtual viewing room. This is so funny. I don't know if you can hear this, but there's actually a cricket in the background here, which I think is hilarious. I'm trying to give this talk and there's a cricket chirping. It's like, it's heightening my stage fright here, but okay, I don't know where this cricket came from. This is really funny. I'm going to continue. Apologies for the background noise. So the closing is Saturday, October 24th. Make a reservation on our website. Come down, visit in person safely. Bring a mask. And it's it's an incredible show. It's good. Each slot that you make a reservation for gives you, you can have a half an hour visit, which is a good length of time to see some of the work, which is time-based work, video work, and really experience the exhibition in person. So coming up next, opening in mid-November, is our Shift Residency exhibition, which is part of our Shift Residency for Arts Workers. And this is an exhibition of 8 artists that we've been hosting here at EFA, and also have been making use of the EFA studio as a really cool collaboration between our programs. Studios offered them the studio on the 3rd floor in Studio 312. And so prior to the lockdown, they were able to use that. And then since then, they've been also able to access that space in order to phase things for this eventual exhibition. This exhibition is going to be curated by Maya Seuss, who is who works at Flux Factory and is also an artist and curator and a former Shift resident. And so with the Shift residency having gone on for 11 years now, we have an alumni group of over 70 artists and arts workers. And so we, as much as we can, like to bring those alumni back into the fold. We did a 2-week alumni residency last year in the summer when we had an opening in that Studio 312. And so we're always looking for ways to bring the alumni cohort back in to mentor, to share their experiences, to talk about, I think it really is, those of you who don't, know, I think it is really, it's incredibly challenging to be both, all of these people are making incredible contributions in their field. Guido runs, the museum education program, over at the Queen's Museum, is an incredible arts educator, is also a painter. And so balancing those two things out is a constant kind of navigation, right? And so everybody kind of brings this history and these stories. So this exhibition, which is called Permission and is curated by Maya Seuss, is going to be opening November 18th. We will be doing a virtual opening event a couple of weeks after that, in part because Jordan Lord, one of the artists in the residency cohort, is their work is all around accessibility and access. And so they're actually going to be writing additional texts, creating more accessible materials. And so the actual opening and release will be a time for all of that material to be made available as well. So we're really excited about that. And just to mention also, these residents will be introducing their show tomorrow afternoon from 3:30 to 5 as part of our Open Studios programming. You can find out more about that at efa.art. So if you want to hear from them and Maya, they'll be in conversation tomorrow, sharing some of the work. And the kind of unofficial title for the panel is the pandemic cohort, because it was what internally we were referring to this group as, and the questions about, around, what does it mean to participate in a residency during a pandemic? What does it mean to make work as an artist? Especially, as you probably know, so many museums have slashed their education budgets, are laying off administrators left and right, and so they're in this very precarious situation, right, that they're navigating. On that note, this afternoon, if you want to come back online with us at 4 p.m., we are hosting a coalition building town hall led by Natasha Bunton, who runs the Culture Workers Education Center, Carrie Downey, who is an artist museum educator and a SHIFT alumni, Megan Elevado, who is an arts educator, Patrick Jajoko, who is a curator, independent curator, and a program director, I believe now at Fourth Arts Block, New York. Antonio Serna, who is the creator of the co-creator of the People's Cultural Plan, Documents of Resistance, an ongoing art project documenting arts and activism, in particular artists of color, and is also a former SHIFT resident. And then Natalia Vieira, who is a curatorial fellow at Abrams Art Center, and a co-founder with Patrick of Arts Worker for Black Lives. They're all going to be talking, doing kind of brief presentations about their ongoing work, both within arts institutions, the kinds of anti-racist and abolitionist organizing that's happening right now in places like Guggenheim, MoMA, the Whitney, the New Museum, labor organizing happening alongside, and also their independent work organizing outside of those spaces as arts workers. And so if you are an arts worker or you are interested in learning more, join us at 4 p.m. today. I think I'm almost out of time here, but Friday we have a screening event where we're going to be screening videos by some of the artists in the Immigrant Artist Biennial, including Bahare Khashoggi, Daniela Kostova, Dapo Reo, and Yali Romagoza. And so they're screening works that are either on view right now in the exhibition or are kind of tangential related to the same body of work. And that'll be screening all day on the EFA.art website, which I don't know if you checked out the screenings yesterday, but it was really amazing getting, this high quality video art from our members, and in this case from the Immigrant Artist Biennial artists, just like streaming into your home. It really made my day to be able to watch that program. And I think Fridays will be amazing as well. And then last but not least, we have a closing event on Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m., which is a catalog release event for the Immigrant Artist Biennial. We are releasing that catalog in ether form as a PDF. So it's a virtual catalog release. There are virtual performances happening by two of the artists in the exhibition, Levan Miniashvili and Anna Parisi. And that'll be a really amazing event for you to check out. I also, before I conclude, just want to I want to say thank you to all of the EFA staff for organizing this Open Studios Week. So much energy in that and in this space, and I think it's incredible to keep the energy even virtually as we're, some of us are working remotely and so forth. I want to also thank EFA's board and Project Space's Curatorial Advisory Council, who are listed here, as well as all of our funders. So Project Space, we bring in the grants, and these are our amazing funders this year. We're so grateful for all of the support from everyone, in particular from Stavros Niarchos, who funded Shift during the time that we had to close down, and of course the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts, who have been so incredibly generous and forthcoming in their support for our programs now in multiple years, and we are incredibly grateful for all of our funders. And just to say as well, we also receive support from our community and from the general public. So please do go to EFA's website and the support page, and continue to support the work that we're doing. Get involved. Check out our open call exhibitions. Open call for exhibitions. I do want to just one last thing before I hand it over to EFA Studios. I think I'm right at 12:30, so give me just 1 second. So on our website, if you haven't checked it out, is an incredible chronology of all of our projects and exhibitions that we've put on over the years. And every time I look at this, I think, okay, this is a force, right? So since 2008, EFA Project Space has been creating curatorial experimentation and artist-led projects. You go all the way back to 2008, and we have a number of EFA studio members or former members there. And in addition to that, if you look back at our exhibition page, which I have up here, each of these pages is archived with media and content, so photos, video, etc. And there's incredible resources just through this work. We've had the privilege of working with some of the most groundbreaking curators in the field right now, and often people who through our kind of incubator programs are up and coming, and then go on to great things. So incredible resources here, which you can kind of click through, and there's all kinds of materials to share. You can send your students here for virtual viewing experiences. And just lastly, to share that in our virtual viewing room for the Immigrant Artist Biennial, you can see many of the works in the show documented, as well as each artist has a kind of little viewing area where you can experience their work. I still highly recommend you're coming in person. And then, as I mentioned, Katya has a curatorial walkthrough where she introduces the exhibition and its themes. And so I'm not going to actually play this right now because I want to hand this back over to studios. But this is great to check out. Check it out on your own time. And Katya does a pretty awesome walkthrough here with a video that she and Judy Gira produced for us on the occasion of the opening. I'm just going to play like 30 seconds of this.
My name is Katya Grochowska. I'm the founding director and curator of the Immigrant Artist Biennial. The Immigrant Artist Biennial presents work by US-based immigrant artists from around the world and sets out to form an international dialogue through exhibition of ambitious projects and events with an aim to facilitate a diverse and experimental discourse. In a time of extreme anti-immigrant sentiment, unrest, discrimination, and exclusion. The inaugural Immigrant Artist Biennial 2020 Central Group Exhibition Here Together, presented by EFA Project Space, featuring multidisciplinary works by 11 Europe-based immigrant artists. Here Together explores displacement, alienation, and the steady erosion of the American empire. Confronting a national rhetoric of exclusion, nationalism, and discrimination, Here Together calls for urgent unity, visibility, and criticality by facilitating a necessary platform of cultural exchange. The exhibit.
I think I'll leave it there. Thank you all so much for your time and for listening. And I hope you'll come and join us in person now or for our next exhibition. Thanks. And thanks again, Natalia and Derek and Bill for hosting today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dylan. Dylan, if you wouldn't mind stopping your screen sharing. Okay, great. I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up from here. And I'm just going to do a we've got kind of like a fun presentation today. So I'm going to just go over briefly some of the background and history of, the studio, just what the studio program is. And then we are going to take you on a little tour to meet some of our artists. So typically, this building is buzzing with tons of artists and visitors, and it's just this like incredibly immersive experience. And unfortunately, obviously we can't do that today, but we are still going to meet some people so you can kind of get an idea of just the unique quality of each of our artists and each of the studio spaces, which really feel like little worlds on their own. So again, a refresher what the studio program is in case anyone doesn't know. We have 90 studios in this building, which is quite an impressive number. We have at any given time, well over 100 artists involved in the building. It's available to artists 24/7. Our studios are located on floors 3 through 10, at EFA Center, and we have various exhibitions. And currently, we have an exhibition called "Freedom is an Act," featuring the 9 new EFA members that came in from the jury process. And it's an incredible show. I really hope that all of you get a chance to come see the show. I did put in the chat a link to the registration. So if you are looking to book an appointment, you can book an appointment for yourself and for one other person and come in for, it's 30-minute sessions, but, take your time. And so, and generally speaking, we have just like a ton of activities happening at all times. We have a visiting professionals project where we invite curators and critics to come and conduct studio visits with our members. We have a variety of workshops, lectures, typically. And then right now, if you go online, we have our annual open call for new members. It's a free application. It's done through Submittable. It's for artists who are 25 and older. It's not for artists that are currently enrolled in any degree granting program, but it is for professional, generally speaking, New York City based artists. So I welcome everyone to sort of check that out and to spread the word. So here again, we're going to meet Samira today. And so here are just some images of our wonderful artists in their studios. And again, some of the entrance of our studio, of the studio building. Here's just a reminder to, that you have until December 15th to apply to join the studio program. And also later today at 6 p.m., this is a packed day. So I'm excited about the events happening at 4 p.m. with Project Space. But if you are still interested in maybe some more content, at 6 p.m. we will be sitting down with 9 of our new members, and each of them will be presenting a little bit about what they're working on currently. And everyone has, videos and fresh content and all kinds of fun things to present. So that will be happening today at 6:30 from 6:30 to 8:30. So that is happening. Please register online. And here's our lovely building. And I'm just going to hand it over to Bill because Bill is the director of the studio program. And Bill will just tell us a little bit about also some programs that he's working on and what's coming up. Oops, let me stop share. Bill, you need to unmute yourself. You're muted.
Whoops, sorry about that. Anyway, welcome everyone. And thank you, Natalia, and thank you, Dylan. And I just want to, just say, as Dylan said, thank you to Jane Stevenson, our executive director, who was the founder of EFA in 1992, and then bought this building in 1998 when she started the studio program. And we were the first program, and the other two programs followed. But one of the, and as Dylan said, and I agree, each of these programs would be amazing on its own, wherever they were. The fact that all three of them are together in this one space in the middle of Manhattan is really extraordinary. Natalia told you a little bit about the studio program. We have 90 studios. We have over 100 artists because some of these artists share. Artists get in for 2 years through a jury process. At the end of 2 years, they can apply for renewal and for another 2 years. So basically every 2 years, the artists have to show that they are making work and they're really using the studio. We don't want anybody wasting studio space here. It was designed for professionals right from the beginning. You really need to be an exhibiting, serious artist to be here. It's not for hobbyists. And we have a really diverse group of artists. We have over 30 countries represented and aged from I think our youngest artist is 27 and we have an artist who's 95 and all doing incredibly diverse work. This is usually, I also want to thank the artists. We did a really artist-driven benefit that helped us get through Corona. We were closed for 3 months and we're not, the studios were not available, so we were not charging the artists. So I know for everybody, this has been very, very difficult time. And for us, it was the same, but we're in good shape. We've gotten some big grants, and so we're here and we're going to keep going. Now I'm waiting for Natalia. So we thought, since normally open studios, the fun part of it is that there's all these studios open and we've got people coming in and out of the studios. We thought the least we could do was walk you through a few studios. So I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but I think Natalia's going to get back on. Anyway, I'll just keep going. So, oh, Natalia. Okay, so should I now head upstairs? Oh, you're muted. Natalia, can you unmute?
Who
Okay.
else are we visiting besides Samira?
Okay, we're going to Samira, Thomas, Peel, and Fanny, and they're all right on that line.
Okay, we're gonna meet with Thomas right now because Samira's not in her studio.
Okay, I'll be right up.
All right. Okay, so we are. Let's see. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Okay, this is Thomas. What's that?
I know on internet. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. So Thomas, you just want to introduce yourself really quick?
Should I show my face for a second?
Sure.
Yeah. This is how I look.
Yes.
And everyone wear your masks, take care of each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Thomas, maybe just say how long you've been here and maybe something about
I
being
came
at
actually into the building, and this is a little shocking. In 2001, that's a very long time ago. At that time, there was another program here called ICP, and I was here for a year in that program. And after that, I was a short-term member, or a short-term member is what we call it, for many, many years. Until I was very lucky to become a member here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and now I'm a member, and you are now not in my studio actually.
No? What is this?
This is my studio is down on 6th floor, and that's where I produce many of my shows, and it's a wonderful environment to work in. It's but I think this is what's interesting with this space is that you guys or this organization sometimes have a little bit of vacancy between artists, someone's coming out. And then when we work on a bigger project, we can move into these spaces for a little bit of time, sometimes when it works.
Yeah. So what are you working on right now?
I am working on, I'm just finishing up a show for a museum in Norway.
Hey, Thomas, you got your haircut.
Mhm.
And that is now, I'm packing it, and it's now sitting in my photo studio. And here I am working on a few more pieces, some drawings.
Can you walk us through?
Yes. I think, I don't know how much time we have.
Just like 10 minutes.
Yeah. What I always realized when in studio visit is that the difference between showing finished work and work in progress is two different things. And since this is an open studio, I kind of want to show both.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we can start with these paintings. Those are.
Ooh, these are amazing.
These are acrylic paint on canvas. It is layers and layers of translucent paint that builds up towards seemingly opacity, but it's actually not. It is built up in a way. So, sorry. So, natural light actually can penetrate the surface of the painting and mix with the paintable light, which is the difference between the lighter.
Now, I'm sure everybody can hear you. Closer to you.
Yeah.
The captioners are picking it up.
Okay. So there is a blend of paintable light and natural light. So these paintings really change with the light they are exhibited in, and sometimes it's really amazing when this work is shown in spaces with natural light, where we have a shift of light, where the shift from day to dusk, or from sun to overcast, is picked up in the painting. So it's kind of but of course, it is also a challenge. It's kind of like an idea of challenging, or go into a space where where you look at shifts that's almost impossible to discern. Where you see where does it go from some yellowish and into greenish, and maybe over to more bluish, and how do you define it? Where do you stop? Where do you and and to really see if the eye can tune into that kind of minuscule seeing, or silent seeing, or seeing as listening, seeing as just letting time pass, something like that. I don't know.
Very cool. Yes.
Yeah. And then the sculptures I have, and this is also a little bit shocking maybe, but I have, since I moved into this building, I have not thrown out any garbage from my production.
You've not thrown out any garbage? Not a single scrap of paper?
No. I have collected all the drop cloth, all the excessive paint, all the disposable gloves, all the everything that's in, all the equipment that is obsolete.
Ah.
And all of this is turned into objects.
Oh, really? I did not realize that.
So inside here, it is a soup of something we actually don't have complete control over, and the pieces are not going to be shown in this show. So, but what we have here, and I don't know exactly how to describe. That these are organic. They can look like a little bit like organs, but those I have finished, and one is here that maybe you can define a little bit more finished. Get the surface that is actually more like aesthetic, or a product, or so you have this mixture between something that is cultural or produced, and something that is a little bit out of control, and maybe they have a little bit disease feeling, maybe organ building. And so this is the same. Inside here is and they are a little soft. Then is This is the recipe project.
What are you wrapping them with, or how are you containing all of these?
That's paint.
It's all, so it's encapsulated in sort of.
Yeah. I worked a long time with acrylics, so I've studied a lot how the different properties work, and those of you who work with acrylic know that you can peel it off certain surfaces. So I make these kind of wrappings in paint
So you're working with like sheets of acrylic.
This is the top surface here is the old paint I collected. I have put them on the surface and then I wrap the whole thing into. I kind of make saran wrap.
Oh yeah, so so it's kind of like acrylic saran wrap. Oh, interesting.
Thank you. And then the drawings are actually all, except for these. These are finished, and these are pretty old. I think these are from 2004, maybe. And it's not portraits of the sculptures. It is more its own. I don't look at the sculpture when I draw. It is just working in the between. This place between abstraction and figuration, where you actually cannot define exactly what you're looking at, or how to describe it, but you see it as an organic object as well. And of course, they do function together with the sculptures, but I want them to function as their own. In their own way.
I love these two pieces. I have to go over and see them.
Yeah.
These have this sort of interference appearance, you know.
It looks so good in here, Thomas.
Thank you.
It's fun to see. The studio has so much stuff.
I'm going to. Can I show you something funny?
Sure.
Bill had these two. He made a little show in the studio.
Oh, that's right.
These are the ones on your desk. But the color looks so different here than it did in your office.
And then finally, when the show was over, I think that show was up for pretty long time. So I have tried to, now somebody discovered, I've tried to collect all the dust. I should have photographed it. I'm sorry. I wasn't dust. No, but I was very happy with it.
Oh no, I love it. God, actually, that was my favorite installation. That was great. With you in the container. So anyway, everybody, so this is what the studios look like. The studios range from 200 square feet to, we have one large studio that's about 530 square feet. Well, large for us, but they face south and they face north. Good.
Yeah, and before you came, I said this thing that sometimes you have a vacancy between two artists, and then if we need some extra space for a little bit of time, it's such a wonderful way to be able to.
It's nice to be able, since we don't have the studios, that sometimes when the artists, if they're needing extra space, if we have a studio, that's no, it was great to look for that studio. Good. So
Thank you, Thomas. Who else?
Thank you. Oh, wait, that's
You can always wash hands. Washing hands is a great idea. Thanks, Thomas. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to be moving next door.
No, I forgot I left my phone down there. That's how I know what time it is. And we're going until 1:15.
Yeah.
She did. Hey, Fanny.
Hello.
Say hello to our audience.
This is our audience is on the phone.
Is it like live?
Yes, it's live and everyone's on the.
Everybody is watching.
I just love the studio.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I was just working on this piece right now. So it's Berlin jeans based, like I kind of deconstruct the old jean that I have. And and I create some I call them emotional landscapes.
I love this.
But so it's always like different spaces that I try to make.
Like landscapes and environments that encapsulate different emotional
Yes, exactly.
frequencies.
Yeah, it could be mental space, from
Mhm.
interior and exterior. I mean, at different levels, and also the body as a space.
Right.
Because I, often use a negative space that are kind of the trace of the body. So this is a new piece that I, there's always some kind of organic. I mean, it could be seen as a, cave or, or the actual, like kind of outline of the shape of a person.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I use almost exclusively recycled materials or reused. So this is an old dress that I used to wear as a teenager. For example. I mean, it has some kind of memories of like past, moments don't exist anymore that I like to reuse, not only my own, but also from the stuff that I find, like, so it could be on the street, little objects, or I use material for the arts, and I like when it's already cut, so that's how I start, I place my elements with what's the shape that's already there, and then I kind of build around it, little by little, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up all looking the same. But I mean, like, and usually I use the same family of colors, this is also how I select my, I mean, kind of earthy colors, brown,
Mm-hmm.
like, and yes, everything you see is pretty much recent, very recent, yeah. In terms of hanging, like I also try different things, like grommets, canvas, frame.
I love, because when you first come in, they feel very abstract, but I love like, when you start looking at them, there's like I love this little face, and these figures.
Yeah, it's never completely abstract. When you
Yeah, another figure over there.
So these are hands, I wrote it by hand.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, because with the machines to, I mean, I'm not, it's, the machine is really basic. So.
And how did you get involved in the fact that they're sewn and whatever? Was that something you did growing up?
Yeah, the sewing, you mean?
Yeah, the fact that you're sewing and not painting.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to paint.
That's a start.
Well, I didn't really do, I studied in a photography school, so I've never really tried a lot of different mediums. But yeah, as a kid, with my mom and grandmother, we always sew. They always finding stuff that repair and flea markets.
Right.
So that's part of
Yeah, so
part
we
of,
just kind of.
yeah. So I'm very comfortable with textile.
Yeah.
This is.
No, they're so beautiful. And your studio is so neat.
Yeah. I mean, because I had a studio visit yesterday, so
Great.
I swept the floor. Yeah, but I like it's easier when it's neat, so it's better to.
Mm-hmm.
Also for the material, I have to put them in bags with different colors, and if you have 2 more minutes, I can also show you the. So I started.
Is this for Dieudonné?
Yeah.
I love this. I just saw.
Ooh, wow.
So this is what I like, but the rest is not really successful because it's the beginning, and you try
Right.
some things.
Oh, can you see this?
Yeah. I don't
That's
know if you can
yeah,
capture the.
We can
the-
capture a little bit of the embossing.
And how long is the fellowship at Gauthier?
Actually, it's actually 5 full days. So I've done already 3, plus the introduction and classes, but the classes were cancelled.
Right.
But for this, so that's what I did during quarantine. At home, but here I did a lot of. I have a lot of.
This is gorgeous.
So this is what I used to
Right.
do the paper cast paper with the pulp. Yeah.
And so I see these are a combination of materials. It looks like some felts or leather.
Yeah, I found this big bag on the street one day, and then I just took it home and I worked from this. Yeah, it's like a see. But this
Amazing.
I didn't take the sewing machine at home, so I just glued it
Right.
with a glue gun,
Great.
So
Excellent. Thank you
Did
so
you
much.
put any additional
yeah,
materials?
you
Like
have
a gel
to put
medium?
matte
Matte medium?
like
Just to and so it's almost like oh my gosh, what's the printmaking process?
Yeah,
Why am I-
colorgraph.
Yeah, colorgraph. I was like,
This is
it's,
what I use also I use colorgraph as well.
ah,
Actually, it's, like this, all this is colorgraph. So
okay.
it kind of actually, yeah, you're right.
It's just
kind
like
of related.
colorgraph. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
it's
much. This
quick.
was
It's quick.
quick. Just it's a quick visit, but we just wanted to
We
check
wanted
in.
to give them, since we're not doing our regular open series, at least we didn't want to just do a slideshow. So this way, they got to see the studio. Thank you.
Thank you, Fanny. It's a beautiful studio and wonderful work. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye. All right, we are heading.
So as we were saying, we have 90 studios on 8 floors, but we picked people on the same floor for our tour. We got Samira. Hey, Samira.
Hi. How are you?
Good. You got a cameraman.
Hi.
I'm your camera person here.
Didn't recognize
Friendly
you.
camera person. Hi.
So this is Samira Abbasi, who is not only one of our member artists, but was one of the co-founders of the Elizabeth Foundation. So she was here, it was their idea, so she was in here since before it existed. And so maybe you can just tell us a little bit.
Yeah, about what you're working
So
on.
there's a couple of series going on. This is something that is 99% there. There's still some tweaks. It's a series of those lost at sea. And it's based on, it's based on the idea of the Syrian refugees. And then I wanted to make it more universal, because the idea of humanity crossing water
Mhm.
at all times, you know, it's a biblical idea. It's also, you know, like figures of the raft of the Medusa and so on. It's the idea of migration and the danger of migration and being lost at sea. And then I started actually in March at the beginning of COVID. And so I spent quite a few months away from it, and it was difficult to return to it. But when I did, I realized our being lost at sea during COVID it feels like a sort of a metaphor for that also. And then there's 3 large canvases that I've just started at various stages. So far, mostly it's acrylic on canvas stretched over panel. I've come up with, you know, a really complicated set of ways that I do my surfaces, but they're sanded. As you can see, if you close up on this one, there's I will literally take a sanding instrument to it so that it's completely smooth. I don't like buildup of texture. So it's all about getting the light coming through the canvas, as in sort of medieval paintings, and I'm looking at Byzantine icons and so on. And referring to my own drawings as well, some of my motifs that I use, such as the hands that are coming down from the belt is a Kali motif. And I like to mix up various mythologies and traditions. So that, and there's also, you know, a very strong sense of self-portraiture and autobiography. And just, you know, how the body can be depicted from the inside out. How, you know, for example, the legs in the painting are not attached to her, but are part of the dress. And there's also this idea of biography in the dress, so that instead of a multi-figure painting, there's one figure that incorporates all. So it's an attempt at a universal archetypal image.
Beautiful.
And then there's the sculptures and the fragments.
Yeah,
And then these are the finished ones. This is fragment area. It's like Santa's workshops over there. And then this is like, you know, spirits, figures, and then like bones going right down to. So this is kind of an excavation motif going on there.
I love the way you have them in a case.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of, there's no drawings out, but I also do large charcoal drawings.
This is gorgeous. It's such a stimulating studio. Look at this.
Thank you.
Look at this. Amazing.
Yeah, it's the product of having been here for so long to collect everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, reference materials, because I'm using the overhead projector.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from a Tibetan book of drawing, which is kind of one of my Bibles. It has been for the last 7 years, because there's such an eloquence about the line drawings. It's a complete language.
How are we doing on time, though?
So it's, yes, we should head. Let's go.
Okay.
Thank you. I
Thank
hope that was
you.
good.
Thank you.
so
That was
much.
wonderful.
No, thank
Thank you, Samira.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
See you later. Have a
See you.
Okay, so it's like 1:05.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Hello, Cecile.
Hello, Bill.
Hi. We have our live audience right here.
Say hello to
Welcome.
our audience.
Hi,
I'm
Cecile.
Chong. Thanks for coming to visit.
And Cecile, how long have you been here? You've been here a long time.
Since 2009.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been loving every minute of
Right.
it.
That's
Bill,
what we
I
like to
must-
hear. That's what we like.
Bill, I must say that hair looks amazing. I mean, I have not cut my hair since the beginning of
You
the
know it's
pandemic
really long,
either,
yeah,
but
yeah.
nothing like that.
I know. We got a fresh crop. Fresh crop.
Wow, you look great.
Thank you. Yes, I've been focusing on growing whiteware lately. I'm interested in history and that how we started from China and ended up in, through the Middle East and Europe and ended up in Mexico, becoming Talavera Poblana. So I'm doing a little bit of research, and I'm also making, based on those ideas.
And these are encaustic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So today I'm working on these two little ones. I embedded the figures, so now I'm trying to excavate them again. That's usually my last step, where I take a tool and I etch in. And then these channels, these lines, I fill them with oil stick.
Mm.
Yeah, so that would be the last,
Oh, I see,
the
right.
last step. Yeah. And so this is, well, the good thing is that I usually cover my work table because I get a lot of questions, but this time you get to see it. This is my
Yeah.
crazy work table.
I love it.
And this is actually a George Foreman griddle.
It's a George Foreman.
That's my hot palette.
Mhm.
So I melt the encaustic to 200 degrees. And then I apply like 25 to 30 layers of encaustic. And in between each layer, I would add something.
Wow.
I also prepare these little guys. So I put them in the landscape.
Hmm.
So they're kind of bubbly and add some texture. And I always redo. So I also excavate. I go back to my table and I excavate some wax. And then I also add like volcanic ash.
Hmm.
And I have circuit board materials from all ranges of televisions. Sometimes I add beads, but these are some other things that I excavate.
Oh, cool.
And I add to the landscape. So materials become like cultural signifiers. They represent a place or
Mhm.
a culture, or like the circuit boards, they represent how humanity we all share technology these days. But we're all part of nature, so I always include a landscape as a setting for my narratives.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what about
These are
these? I don't see these.
Yeah, last year I've been wanting to learn how to weave. So last year I took a class and then I started weaving. So
Whoa.
yeah, similar approach to my paintings. I just collect different materials, and
Great.
yeah. So that one is pretty layered with materials. I have feathers, and the feathers and the tassels, I did buy them in this area, which is great.
Yeah,
There's
it's so garment district
Yeah.
in the best way. It's like amazing. I love it.
yeah, so much to choose from, and some stuff from Materials for the Arts. Thank you, Materials for the Arts.
Love materials for the arts.
Yeah. And then I also thought, like my circuit boards materials in the paintings versus this type of technology nowadays, those cords that I could use. And those two crazy Victorian looking hands, they just follow me for a few days. Yeah, that one's called Blue Light Special. And the image is very much like my sculptures, like
Yeah.
Wawas,
Yeah,
my swallow
exactly.
babies.
Like your swallow babies, exactly. Like
Recognize those, Natalia.
yes.
And I think when it gets cold, because I don't paint in winter, because I have to open the windows, so I focus on other things like I do beading, or I'm sure this year I'm gonna end up working on more of these. But I already feel like I'm breaking the rules, I'm treating it like a painting
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't follow neatly.
Anything.
I'm just like, oh, this needs a little bit of texture and color, so I'm just gonna add some, and I am leaving all these spots blank. So, yeah, I'm sure I'm breaking all these rules, and I bought these. These bands are actually from my last trip home to Ecuador.
Oh yeah.
The natives in this town called Otavalo, actually, they're very well known for their
This is the backstrap
weaving.
loom.
Yeah, and the women, especially, they use them as belts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ooh, so soft.
yeah, so I'm very happy to include that in my own tapestries.
So now you've been, we've had a few artists leave because they left the city, they don't want to get on the subway. So you're coming from Brooklyn and you're okay. You're coming on the subway.
Yeah, it took me a while, Bill.
Yeah.
Like I started coming in maybe like a month ago,
Right.
4 weeks ago. Yeah, and I double masked.
Right.
And yeah, and I know it takes like extra effort now.
Yeah.
But once I'm here, it's so heavenly. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm here.
No, it's been great because so many of the artists have come back and
Yeah,
are using the studio. As I said, we have a few who either left the city or they're worried about the subway, but most of the artists are back in their studio.
yeah, I'm so happy to be back. Yeah, I was home in Park Slope for all those months, and I did figure out other ways of working, like stop motion animation, my cat's room. But it was hard with working with the cat around, but I managed. Yeah, and then I was also spray painting in the backyard. I just installed public art installation at Snug Harbor.
Yes, I saw
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, with the Newhouse Center for Contemporary Art. So
I
that
love
was
that
very.
place,
Yeah, do you show that, Bill?
No, never, but I've been there many, many times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because so many artists are telling me, oh, I showed there in the 80s or 90s. So I'm always asking these days because I'm very curious. Yeah.
I
it's
mean,
a
they have a
beautiful
great
place.
residency program that's kind of under the radar. But I
Yeah.
did some studio visits with artists there.
Yeah, actually, I did this. I
A while
did studio
ago.
visits there too. It's great. It's these old, work for the officers' houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Snug Harbor it's a beautiful
wonderful
place.
So
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's really
There are
wonderful.
26 buildings.
Yeah,
It's
and then the
huge.
whole Chinese garden, the Scholars
Yeah.
Garden, which was reassembled,
Yeah.
which is, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wish more people would go. I mean,
Yeah.
now that I know about it, yeah. But the installation will be there until March 28th of 2021.
Oh, great.
By the
Oh,
way,
Beautiful.
great.
So that's a
Yeah.
long period of time to see.
yes,
Great.
yes.
Well, thank you so much, Essye.
Thank you
How are
for
you doing,
So we're
visiting.
just about out of
Okay,
time.
great.
So, you know what I thought we could just show.
Thank you, Sissy.
Thank you, Natalia. I can't get over Bill's hair.
I
Love it.
know. Me too. It's okay.
I just want to show. So every floor has a kitchen, and normally there's chairs here, and this is really weird. The people on each floor really get to know each other. But we took the chairs out because growing, we figured we're not encouraging
Yeah.
hanging out. But so I guess it's time, just about time for us. To,
Okay, so let's just say thanks and maybe pass it along to
Hey,
Justin.
Thank you so much for coming, and I think there's going to be some questions and answers at the end.
Yeah.
So we're going to now pass it off to the third program, the Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop. And Justin Sands, is Justin there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you ready, Justin?
Yes, Justin's ready. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Justin Sands. I'm the workshop manager of the EFA Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop. And we're, well, let me actually share it. Let me start this screen sharing so I can get some visual there. All right. So this is a picture actually from Open Studio. Oops, I believe it was last year. Hold on. All right, I might have to just do it in this view. Yeah, so this is an image from Open Studio from last year. And so the print shop is a 4,000 square feet studio, a community print shop that's open to all of our members. And we have all different facilities for the different techniques. So this is lithography. This is one of the printers that works in the studio. His name is Devraj Dekoji. If you're unfamiliar with lithography, it's basically the principle, or it works on the principle of grease and water repelling each other. So you can see on the plate here, there's the part that's inked, that's the greasy, and then the blank part of the plate receives water. So as long as you sponge the plate, then it'll only pick up wherever you draw. So this is an example of lithography on our lithographic press here. And then we also have wood block facilities. So etching presses for wood block. So that's where you carve away the negative space and then you ink up whatever is on the raised surface here. There's also etching, so that we have facilities for etching where we use typically copper or zinc plates, where you can you put an acid resist on the surface of the plate, and then you can use a needle to reveal the raw metal, and then we dip it in acid and it actually incises into the plate, which you can then wipe clean and then run it through the press with a wet sheet of paper, and then it prints onto the page. And so we're a workshop in the name of Robert Blackburn. I'm just going to give you a little background of who Robert Blackburn is. So he's a famous African-American printmaker who was born in 1920, and he lived until 2003. And within that time, he changed printmaking history and art history as we knew it, or as we know it. He grew up in Harlem at the end of the, uh-oh, why is this not letting me switch? Okay, here we go. So yeah, he's most famous for his developments in lithography. And he grew up in Harlem. This is a print that he made when he was 18 years old. So he really, he was able to learn lithography at the Harlem Community Arts Center, which was a WPA sponsored program. And he was always involved in the arts. So I have a bunch of his lithographs that he made when he was 18. So he was also, he would put these in his high school publication that was called the Magpie. So he was going after school to create lithographs with a woman named Reva Helfond, and then putting them in his school paper and publishing the works that he made. So these are all from around the same time when he was 18. And then he eventually got a grant to work at or a fellowship to work at the Art Students League, where he furthered his, his lithography, printing, and became one of the best lithographic printers at that time, and was printing a lot of different color lithographs, some of which had 18 different colors, and that was really unheard of at that time. And then when he got out of the Art Students League, he couldn't really find a print shop to work in that had like the same community atmosphere as what he was used to. But then also because he was a Black man, he felt like he wasn't really welcome at many of the print shops at that time. So he decided to start his own workshop in 1948. This is a picture from later on. So this isn't 1948. This is in the 70s. But he started his print shop with one press in a loft on 17th Street. And it eventually became the largest and longest running community print shop in American history. So these are some pictures. One of the most important things to him was to make printmaking accessible to anyone and everyone. So he was going into a lot of schools, and they had like a big outreach program where he would teach printmaking to young children. This is another image from the 70s. And then in his print shop, he also worked with many famous artists. So here's a picture of him working with Romare Bearden. That's an image of a lithograph that they printed together. He also worked with Charles White and Elizabeth Catlett. This is just to name a few. You know, there's like thousands of artists that whenever we do these print fairs, artists come up to us and they say, you know, Bob helped me you know, get my first press, or he taught me printmaking. He also taught at a ton of different universities. And then he was also the first master printer at ULAE. So this is an image of him working with Rauschenberg. So he printed, ULAE is a contract print shop out in Long Island. And they're, you know, known for printing some of the first lithographs with Rauschenberg, Jasper Johns, and Helen Frankenthaler. And so Bob was their first printer there while he was simultaneously running the printmaking workshop. And this is a picture of a print that he made with Rauschenberg that won a print biennial in Slovenia. And that was the first time that an American print had ever won this biennial. And so it really helped to put American printmaking on the map as well. And so Bob continued to run the workshop until he was 81 when his health started failing. And these are some, well, sorry, I started going ahead of myself. But these are some of the prints that he made from his time in the 60s. And I think this is 68 when he was working with Rauschenberg. So these are some of his own stone lithographs. And if you're unfamiliar with stone lithography, for every one of these colors, you have to have a separate stone typically. So he was working on, you know, some of these prints have 8 to 13 stones. This is a print called Color Symphony. So eventually his work went completely abstract, and he was very interested in color and, you know, abstraction. Yeah, so then he continued to run the printmaking workshop, and even in 2000, he won a MacArthur Genius Award, and he put all the money back into the workshop, and he really wanted to ensure that the print shop and his legacy would continue. So this is an image from 2000. This is a year before the workshop closed. And so in 2001, he had to close the workshop because his health was failing, and then he sold it to the Elizabeth Foundation, which opened in 2005. And so unfortunately, Robert Blackburn died in 2003, so he never got to see the workshop open. But then, so this is to present day. So if you actually look at, this is Devraj Jacoji, who is one of the printers, who still works at the workshop, and this is him in 2000. And then this is him working in the studio now. So there is a crossover with some of our older members coming into the studio and working in our workshop. So we opened in 2005, and it has the same structure as Robert Blackburn's initial workshop. We even haven't changed the prices since Blackburn's workshop in 1998. So we have about 240 active members in the studio, and I'm going to go through a number of the different programs that we have. This is artist Shakaya Booker with a class, like Devraj is teaching a lithography class. So, you know, normally we do classes on nights and weekends in the workshop, but during COVID times, we're now going completely online. So if anybody's interested, we're doing a class in Dry Point today at 4 p.m., which you can enroll through the website. And then there's also a stencil, non-toxic stencil printing class on Saturday at 11 a.m., which you can also enroll through the website. But this is an image of a etching class that we had. And then we also do a lot of outreach. So this is, so we had a grant from NIFA to do some workshops with a senior center. So this is, we did a series of 16 workshops with the senior center on West 76th Street at JASA Club 76, where we brought our little press. And this is probably one of our most populated classes, but we taught them all different printmaking techniques. Then we've also done free classes at MoMA. This is a workshop with Michael Kelly Williams in Dry Point at MoMA. And then we also did some classes on the Highline with the Highline teams where we did monotype. So, you know, as much as we can, we try to go out and do free classes for the public to, you know, try to educate people on printmaking. And then we also have fellowships. So this is one of our, or some of our SIP fellow recipients. It stands for the Studio Immersion Program, where in the summer we give free access to the studio, or to eight recipients to the studio for the whole summer. And they also get free classes to learn printmaking, and then they get an exhibition and stipends and whatnot. So we have that every summer. Then we also have a gallery. So these are some of our SIP fellows from 2018 in their show. So our gallery on the 5th floor, we showcase members' work, and, you know, we can allow the public to see some of the prints that are made in the workshop. Also, this Saturday, we're going to have some projections at Printed Matter on St. Mark's Place. If you're around on Saturday, we're also releasing a portfolio to help benefit the workshop. But all that information can also be found on our website. Then we also do contract printing. This is some of our contract printers printing for an artist named Colin Washington Jr. This is a big collograph plate. So the contract printing is where artists or galleries will come to the print shop and they'll have a project in mind, and then they'll pay for the production of the print project. And a lot of the time, these artists don't have any printmaking experience, so then they look to the printers to be their technical assistants with printing. And yeah, so this is some other contract printing work. An artist named Makal Nashmani printing with Devraj. And this is another lithograph. And then this is Nari Ward printing with one of our printers and studio coordinator Jasmine Katassis on a contract job, lithograph with embossment. And then we also do print publishing, where we select artists or nominate artists, or select people to nominate artists to produce editions of prints with. And so this is an artist named Kenny Rivero working on some etchings that we produced last year. This is an etching with Sheen Calais that we produced with Kenny. Michael Kelly Williams, this is a woodblock and lithograph. So these are some of the published prints that we've done. And Michael Kelly Williams was part of a new publishing project that we started, where we're reaching out to members that used to work with Robert Blackburn and then creating new editions with them. So Michael moved to New York City from Detroit in the 70s to produce, or to learn printmaking with Robert Blackburn. And then we produced this print in 2018 together. This is Glendalise Medina. It's Sheen Calais and lithograph. So all the gold is lithograph. So this is a lithograph on the Sheen Calais paper. And then we're printing a laser cut piece of plexiglass on top in brown. So all that gold is actually underneath a layer of brown litho ink. And because of the pigment, it comes through. And then this is Renee Cox. So Renee Cox is a photographer mostly, and this is the first print that she had ever made. We made this print also in 2018. So this is all a lithograph, and then it actually has three-dimensional aspects as well. So this whole center part is all cut out and then mounted to museum board and is actually raised off the center of the print. And then we also made some books with Shakaya Booker, Sheen Calais, and embossment. So these are some of the books that we made with Shakaya. And then these were showcased in the New York Art Book Fair last year. So this is our booth in the New York Art Book Fair. So we also do fairs where we sell our published work. And it's most of our work is produced from these wood blocks that she creates. So she creates these wood blocks, and then we're, using it to print the covers. And then also there's elements of the wood blocks within the Sheen Calais pieces. So the Sheen Calais is basically a collage process of the prints going through the press. And then this is how a lot of her work starts. So it's all different pieces that are cut out and then pre-glued, and then we run it through the press and stick it down to create prints. She's also going to be having a large retrospective show in the Plains Art Museum in North Dakota in 2021. So we have a number of prints that are going there. So these are also Shakaya's prints. So after the Sheen Calais are stuck down, then they often when they're still wet, we run them through a second press to emboss the paper. So that's all embossed. And then most recently we've been we had worked with Rocky Ford, who's mostly an installation artist, and she makes these plexiglass cutout installations. And so she essentially had already made these dry point plates, which we inked up, and then she's spraying airbrush on it there. You can see there's a whole different number of cutout plates that she used that we inked, and then printed multiple. So these are some of the prints that we showcased in the Armory right before the shutdown in March. So these are some of Rocky's works. And then that's our booth in the Armory. So this is what her non-print work looks like. All right. Yeah, and then I also have a video for a walkthrough of the print shop. So I'm just going to share that as well. All right. So this is just a quick walkthrough of the print shop for anybody that hasn't been there. When you walk in on the second floor, so this is Jasmine, our studio coordinator. Yeah, so when you walk in, there's our plate cutter. This is the monitor desk. So we're also mostly run by volunteers normally who work in exchange for time. So anybody who works in the print shop will work for every hour they work, they get 2 hours to work on their own in the studio. So usually there's a monitor sitting there who would sign people in. But during this time, we're only open limited hours. So we're now open Wednesday through Sunday from 12 to 7. If anybody wants to come by, you just have to call the workshop and reserve a time for an appointment. But yeah, that would be our monitor desk. And then we have a library of books that were actually Robert Blackburn's books, most of them. And there's a picture of Robert Blackburn right there in the studio. And there, so these are all our different stones. So we're actually the only print shop in Manhattan that has stone lithography that's not affiliated with the university. So these are all stones that you can rent to do traditional stone lithography and rent them out for $10 a month. Then these are all the different presses. So these are the litho presses here, where you can print stone litho, or you can print plate lithography. So the studio looks a little different now because we've also now built dividers so that people can have their own private cubicles and whatnot. And we're limiting it to 6 people at a time. But this is a video from before all those were built. We also have a computer lab. So also right now there's only 1 computer in there, so only 1 person can be in there at a time. But then we sell materials as well. So there's all paper in those cabinets behind there. And then these are all of our etching presses and a letter press. So, you know, members can sign up and use any of these presses. The letter press is a little bit more of a mechanized press. So members just have to print one of these letterpress certifications in order to use a letterpress. So that's our wall of certifications there. And then all the etching presses. So with these etching presses, you can print etchings or relief prints or monotypes, and they all have movable beds, so you can put your plate down in the center, put your paper on top, and then crank it through to print all your different prints techniques. And then we have a drying stack as well. So a lot of printmaking techniques, you need to wet the paper. So these stacks are all for when you're drying your paper through there. And then paper soaking sink for paper. This is our rosin box there, where you can create aqua tints and give tone to your etching plates. And then this is the acid room. So this is where we etch all the etching plates. So after you create your design on a zinc or copper plate, you can then dip it into the acid and it'll actually etch your drawing into the surface of your plate. And then, you know, that's an example of the stone and the roller. And then we also have a paper table over here. These are, you know, all different kinds of techniques that you can print in the workshop. So monotype, you know, is like printing from typically a plexiglass plate where you would paint on the plexiglass plate with a wet ink and then transfer it through paper, transfer it to paper. And then relief printing is where you would take a lino cut or a wood block and carve away the surface and then print off of the surface of the block. And then lithography is a planographic process through which grease and water repel each other. And then intaglio is printing from the lower surface of an etched line into a metal plate. So then as we walk through the back of the studio, we have all different stones and scraper bars. This is a lift for the stone because some of the stones are very heavy. We also have private editioning rooms. So this is where we work on all the contract printing and publishing. These are some of Kenny Rivero's etchings that I just recently finished editioning. I took a little break there. There was like a 7-month break between editioning. And then in the back of this studio over here, there's also a graining sink. So this is where we grain the litho stones. So after your image is printed and you don't want to use it anymore, you would put it on the sink and then use these different grits, which are basically different size metal filings that you would spread on the surface of your stone and then grind it away with a levigator, which is this big metal disc, and that actually grinds the surface of the stone off so that you can create more prints from that. And then this is our screen printing room. That's Essye, our programs manager, who you might have met yesterday. And then with the screen printing, you basically have all these screens that have a stencil on it, and you use these tables. And you can, you know, screen printing is one of the most versatile techniques where you can print on fabric or wood, like pretty much anything flat. So people can rent and store their screens here as well. And then we also have a dark room. So this is how you would expose an image onto your screen or a plate. So in the dark room, we have all these photo capabilities where you can make photo, photo plates for different printmaking processes. Bathrooms are in the back over there. And then, so after you expose your screen, then you would bring it, this is our dish sink, but you would bring the screen over here into the washout booth, and then you would wash it out in the washout booth here. And then, so now this is the print shop with all the dividers in place so that we're COVID safe. So the monitor would be behind there. Every section has an area that's, so everyone kind of has their own little cubicle to work in. We're limiting it to 6 people at a time. But yeah, and we improved the ventilation, just we want it to be as safe as possible for members to work in the studio during this time. All right. Yeah, so that concludes my portion of the tour. But yeah, like I said, if you're interested, we're having a benefit portfolio at Printed Matter in St. Mark's on Saturday. It starts at 1 p.m. And then there's also going to be some live projections from 6:30 to 7 this Saturday. And then you can also sign up for the Dry Point workshop today at 4, or if you're interested in learning stencil monoprint, then that's also this Saturday.
Great. And the link, I see that the link for the in-person event is in the chat.
Oh, great.
And the classes too. I'm just going to ask Bill to unmute as well. And if anybody wants to just say hi or has any questions, we're not a big group, so you can feel free to just unmute yourself and say hey. I see you, Jerry.
I don't know what to say, but I just, congratulations on pulling this together. And I'm really happy to see you all. And I hope to walk down the street one of these days and stop by and visit.
Yeah, please.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, are you back in the office, Jerry?
I'm here typically like 3 or 4 days a week. We never really left. After like the first month or so, our street workers were here the whole time, and I was just away for about a month, and doing our best to try to get things going again.
Jerry, you're an appropriate person to talk though, because you're actually, we generally do our Open Studios programming in conjunction with the Garment District and Garment District Alliance. And so this is the first time really that we're not, opening all together. So.
Yeah. And like I said, I really applaud your efforts for doing this. And not just canceling altogether. I think it's important that we all just keep pushing in all directions and doing what we can. I love all the programs. I love the print shop, the studio program, and all. So we're as supportive as we can, and going forward, whatever we can do, we're here for you.
Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate it. Are there any other questions? I see, yes, Susan.
Hi, I'm upstate, and I'm incredibly excited about what I've seen, how you guys have just pulled this place together. It's so professional. It's just so well handled, and I'm just overwhelmed with excitement. I had written a quick note to Bill Carroll the other day saying I was going to attend some things, and I'm learning a lot. And I'm gonna write to Bill again and tell him some neat things. And I just want you guys to know I think this is just an amazing place. And I'm just so happy that I've joined in today to see it in action.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. By the way, where upstate are you?
I'm right outside of Rochester, New York, pretty far upstate.
Yeah, that's very upstate. Yeah,
I'm a professional artist, and I've been an educator, and I just stopped being an educator after years and years, about 1.5 years ago, officially. So but I still have my hands into that field, and just working on my art. but just I have a kind of a conglomeration of professional, tendencies that keep coming out, and I can't stop them. So that's why I'm reaching out, because I'm always growing and always looking. And ironically, I've been looking for print shop facilities and just seeing what's happening in your print shop, and that you have contract work and things like that. It's the potential that I see even for myself in some ways is pretty exciting. So thank you for opening this up for all kinds of people to come and see. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. By the way, I've spent a lot of time. I love Rochester. My brother
Yeah.
went up there and raised his 4 boys up there. I was up there all the time.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, good. Then you don't think it's snowing all the time and we're that far away, you know? I've done so much in the community up here with RIT, Nazareth College, Monroe Community College. Those were my teaching stomping grounds, and and I have students that are in New York City and going down to New York, and I've been to New York having shows, and I don't know, it's just been a huge career, but connecting with you guys in this way today has just been wonderful, and thank you again.
When this corona is over and the next time you're in town, come by, we'll give you the in-person tour.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
I just want to say hi to Katinka.
Hey, Katinka.
Katinka is one of our members who's amazing. We just love her so much. Yay, Katinka. And Essye is also online. You can see Essye. Say hi. If there's does anyone else have any other questions for us or wants to say hi? Sato, I see you.
Hi, my name is Sato Yamamoto from Japan, and I start room sharing with visual artist Fanny, and my English is a little bit poor, but if I can say hi for EFA team someday.
Join. I hope you come in and you can see at one of our galleries, come by, register online or come to one of our events. There are events in person, so it's always nice to see people in person.
Good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, as I think we said that on the tour, but most of the artists are back using their studios, which is very encouraging, because we it's kind of tricky there for a minute, but everybody, they're back and they seem to be everybody, and we're all very safe, and we have our masks on when we're in public spaces, and we've got everybody's feeling really good.
Yeah,
artists are starting to come back into the print shop too. We had we have like an average of 4 to 6 people a day, I would say.
Great.
But we only opened last week, so it might be more.
And what has happened maybe you can just describe a little bit of what has happened in the workshop to make sure that people are safe? What are some of the alterations?
I built all those dividers, which are like essentially large spit guards, so that people don't get their germs on each other, and then improved all the ventilation. And install the fresh air intake in the back of the studio, so that it's basically just like continual fresh air moving through the studio at all times, and hand sanitizing, and then also like our hand sanitizing stations throughout the studio, and then also having people fill out when they come in, just filling out questionnaires saying that they haven't been in contact with anybody who's had COVID in the last 14 days. Everybody has to wear masks the whole time. There's no more eating in the studio. I think that's everything. I might have forgotten something, but yeah, it feels pretty safe in there, and it's the airflow is better than it's ever been, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of cleaning going on.
Yeah, and sanitizing the space 3 times a day.
Fantastic. Well, Essye, did you want to mention any other like upcoming programs or things that
Yeah.
are happening?
I put it in the chat as well, but usually we have our members show at the print shop gallery on the 5th floor. However, because of situation, we're just going to have an online exhibition. It's going to include about 40 artists from the print shop from our community, and that will open tomorrow at 6. And all of the works are for sale. I think Sato, you're in it as well. So we're going to have an opening reception online tomorrow at 6. And then we're also having an artist talk with Basira Khan, an artist that we just published with printer John Andrews. And Jasmine Katasus will be moderating that. And she's also a print shop staff member. So thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I think that we've kind of covered all the bases, and I hope that you all have gotten a little more information about the 3 programs and what we've all been up to and how you can engage and participate in future programs. So I think with that, we can end. We're just a few minutes.
And hopefully next year we will see all of you in person with our usual 2,500 people, Tito's Vodka.
Sierra Nevada.
I'm missing the event in person, but thank you all so much for coming.
And also, I just want to remind you all that there's a live stream. So all the programs that are happening during the Open Studios, they're going directly to our YouTube page. And so there's lots and lots of content that you can view asynchronously on our YouTube page. Okay, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Take it.
I could take that. Okay, HC, I think you can end the meeting.